Good afternoon, my name is Ariana Athanase, and with my mentor, Dr. Nori Michael, into the grant support of the Building Students' Identities as Scientists, this summer we decided to look at the limitations of parental choice of preferred childcare facilities ages 0 to 5 in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Today, we'd like to acknowledge some key points being the background, our hypothesis, methodology, preliminary findings, implications, challenges encountered, and the next steps, and along with acknowledgements. A background or overview would include what is early childhood development. Early childhood development consists of the physical, socio-emotional, cognitive, and motor development skills of children between the ages of 0 to 5. Under this also includes the development of their early childhood educational stage, and this is important to look at because this truly develops a foundation for a child's adult life. In the U.S. Virgin Islands, there are 3 childhood educational programs. That is also the background of my research, and this consists of the Head Start, Early Head Start, and licensed and private childcare facilities. Head Start is an early childhood educational program that receives federal funding to serve 894 children and families in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Early Head Start is the early educational program located only in St. Croix and administered by the Lutheran Social Services, and it is to serve 120 children, families, and pregnant women. The criteria for both these programs would include the income of the families, which would be $20,000 per year, the ages of the children, the composition of their families, which includes is it a 2-parent household versus a single parent, and the status of the child being considered. Is it returning or are they first-timers? Our third childcare facility that we're looking at, licensed and private childcare facilities, are not funded by the government. These sometimes includes religious schools. An example would be St. Thomas Calvary Christian Academy in St. Thomas, and in St. Croix, Good Hope Country Day Preschool. In terms of public housing communities, in order to be eligible for them, the family's annual income must reflect the federal poverty guidelines, which states that it must be the income times the number of people in the household along with an unemployed persons within. From this, we developed our scientific question of, are there factors that limit parental choice of preferred childcare facilities for children ages 0 to 5 in the U.S. Virgin Islands? Our hypothesis is that there are factors that limit parental choice. The factors that we're using to support our hypothesis consist of proximity, finances, government benefits and subsidies, and a lack of public knowledge. In terms of proximity, we're documenting distances between public housing and early childcare facilities. In terms of finances, we're looking at annual household incomes. Can they afford to send their children to these schools? Government benefits and subsidies, which is the amount received going into the consideration of these facilities, and a lack of public knowledge. Parents do often lack the social networks needed to introduce them to these services. In terms of our methodology, we looked at more of a mixed method design, starting with a secondary data analysis, which was an analysis of previously existing information and data from the Caribbean Exploratory Research Center. And we're looking or focusing more on the capacity, amounts, and locations of these various facilities. Our second step was to use GIS mapping, which is a program more so used as a geographic information system to produce key visuals such as 2D or 3D maps. We can use GIS to manage, create, and attain data, which would in turn create a figure such as 2009 median household income located towards the right. This map was actually given to us from the U.S. Census Bureau, the USVI. Our next steps in terms of our methods would be a primary data collection and qualitative data, which would consist of a survey and interview, which would be short anonymous questionnaires or 30-minute in-person conferences with no more than 5 to 7 questions at max 20. Our goals of the survey and interview is to understand the parents' opinions on the care their child receives, perception on early child care facilities, and personal limitations they feel exist within these programs. To the right is actually a sample survey that we're in the development of making. The results or inferred results that we're looking at in terms of proximity starts with the documentation of distances between public housing and early childcare facilities. In the Estate Bavonia apartments, which is one that we looked at, we noticed that there's 41% of the residents being children. And at this diagram now, which is an actual GIS map of the Estate Bavonia apartments enclosed in red, we saw that the Bavonia Head Start Center is actually enclosed and within close proximity of the actual Bavonia housing apartment complex. But on this map, there's no location of any private or parochial schools. So we still have to have more data to look at the proximal distances between them. In terms of finances, we looked at the annual household income and the early Head Start and Head Start criteria, and we noticed that estate of owning apartments had an annual household income for their tenants of $19,000 per year. This does reflect their criteria guidelines. It does not exceed $20,000. But in terms of government benefits and subsidies, any amount received goes into their consideration. So if they receive any amounts from the special nutrition program and it exceeds it, they do not come within the expectation of the criteria. And finally, a lack of public information. From an analysis of articles conducted, we discovered that, according to Winkworth, that most parents simply did not know about these services because they had no assistance. In an hour-long interview conducted by the CERC staff to anonymous participants of the Department of Human Services, Speaker 2 did state that she does not think most individuals in the community know that these programs or information exist. A recommendation of flyers, newscasts, and publications was recommended. Through the goal of our research, broader impacts that we're looking to accomplish would be facilities expecting special needs, summer programs for 0 to 5-year-olds, and dual language learners. We're hoping that we can actually help in the assistance of creating more of these programs for students with actual issues and allowing dual language learners to have a faster learning rate. For summer programs, most parents do need assistance in dealing with younger children. Challenges encountered in their steps: there are a higher number of kids needing services than there are facilities serving them. We did not have enough time to complete this research, and we're hoping that our path towards completion would consist of completing this in time for AmberCram. I'd like to acknowledge the CERC team and my mentor, Dr. Noreen Michael, Dr. Letha Bowman, and Dr. Gregory Wanell of Emerging Caribbean Scientist Program, our grants, EBSCO host of the US of UVI, the DHS team, and the Housing Authority team. Thank you. At this time, I'll take any questions, and this is our contact information.